Welcome back. Have a treat today. You know, we say that many times over, but today it could be no more true. We find ourselves right now in Geneva County, Alabama. We are the guests of Weston Spivey right here just outside Slocum, Alabama. We are at Green Acres Farm. We're going to see an up-close and personal view of bison, North American bison, coming into favor right now because of their nutritional qualities. People are having a problem right now with their health due to red meats and other things that they're putting into their body. According to Weston and the experts, right now, buffalo is one of the best meats that you can buy. When we come back, we're going to talk to Weston about Green Acres Farm. We're going to talk about bison, North American bison, and we're going to have some fun in our visit right now just outside Slocum, Alabama. We'll be right back. Welcome back. As mentioned, our guest today is Weston Spivey. Thanks so much for having us out here today.
Yes, sir. Let me tell you, I enjoy so much of what I'm able to do. Being young, I love to be able to get myself out there. I love my job. I wake up every day looking forward to what I'm going to be doing here. And this is just exciting for me. You know, I think a lot of you guys.
I told you this one was going to be fun. And Weston, I first met about a year and a half ago. It was in Slocum at the Slocum Tomato Festival. Didn't get the opportunity to actually interview you at that time, but you, in a very short period of time, told me about your activities in racing, in bison. At that time, you were not looking at the political field, which is another story that we're going to talk about later. But we talked about getting together. It took us almost a year and a half to do it. But I'm glad that we finally did do it. We talked earlier last week. You said, well, Wednesday at noon works for us. So here we are. Let's start at the beginning. We are on a large chunk of property right now. The name of your business is Green Acres Farm. I see a pond behind us with channel catfish. I see lots of buffalo out here. Start at the beginning, Weston, and tell us how you came to be in that farming business and what you're doing these days.
Yes, sir. Mr. Paul, my grandfather, has done a lot for me. I started out there when I was about 13 years old in our big shop. This is kind of our showroom. And I started sweeping the floor. And we had a few buffalo, and we had kind of debating on which way we wanted to go. And we found ourselves getting into the meat business. So it slowly progressed. I've been homeschooled my whole life. That has allowed me to do so much of this. I get my school done early in the morning, and then I like to be at work by 8 o'clock. And I get to come out here every day and work with the national mammal of the United States, which is the bison. And I get to sell the meat to retail locations from here to Birmingham, Orange Beach, all the way down to Tampa, Florida.
Bison, let's start with the animal itself. You know, very often the word buffalo and bison is used interchangeably, and understandably so. But correct me if I'm wrong, what we're dealing with here is the North American bison, and
Yes,
the
sir.
true buffalo is a different animal. Talk about that.
Yes, sir. So the North American bison, you know, is really commonly found with native history. That's the biggest thing with bison. Now the terms can be twisted around sometimes, bison, buffalo. I find myself using both terms. Really, it's almost the same animal. There is a water buffalo and like a Cape buffalo that comes out of Africa, but we're dealing with North American bison here.
Okay. Large animal, certainly a lot of issues. Reminds me, not to the extent certainly, but almost on the order of, you know, you're going from chickens to big hogs, and all of a sudden now you need stronger fences, you need better secure enclosures. Talk a little bit about the challenges and exactly what goes into that day-to-day cultivation of that North American bison.
Yes, sir. We raise 150 of these animals. We have 2 herds on each side of the road.
So you've got 150 of these 1,500 to 3,000 pound animals.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the great thing about them is just they're so unique. And then the health benefits behind buffalo meat. So the biggest thing with the buffalo meat is we're cholesterol free right now. All the buffalo meat we produce is cholesterol free. So when you go to your doctor, as you get older, he's always preaching to you about your cholesterol. You need to lower your cholesterol. Then you probably get home and maybe you have to hear it from your wife or your kid or dad, you need to lower your cholesterol, or maybe you've even had a heart attack. Our meat gives people a different option. It opens us up to a different market. We don't compete with beef. Beef doesn't compete with us. We don't affect beef sales. We're a whole different product.
Not far from here, around Graceville, Florida, between Graceville, I believe, and Bonifay, we met a young man, I think a couple of years ago, who has a grass-fed beef operation.
Yes, sir.
We met him through Florida Panhandle Technical College, where our studios are located. He was a graduate of the horticulture and the large equipment repair programs there, and he went into the raising of grass-fed beef. At that time, we learned a lot about the health benefits of that versus the commercial production of animals in general, but certainly in his case, the beef. More and more since that time, probably closer to 3 years, we're hearing more and more about the bison, the health benefits. I always try to do a little bit of research before I do an interview like this, so I learned a little bit, and I want to run some of that past you. To go back to ground zero though, how did you get involved with buffalo to start with? I know you're partners with your grandfather, but talk about how that all started.
Yes, sir. Well, he had some buffalo out. He's been a contractor, and he's always been like an exotic animal guy. He's always loved having something different. We have a lot of peacocks. And I think one thing kind of just led to another with it. A fellow down in Campbellton had some buffalo. He bought and he brought them here, and kind of, he started seeing where it was going, started selling a little bit of meat. And we got serious about it. We started seeing what's going on in Las Vegas, in North Dakota, in Montana, these different states where the meat market is booming.
Well, what's going on in Las Vegas?
Well, you go to Las Vegas. I went to a conference, and I look at the menu, and I'm just regular old Weston, and I'm looking for beef. I'm looking for a beef burger or a beef steak, and I see nothing but buffalo on the menu. So it's in full trend. There's still beef that's sold in Las Vegas. It has just trended itself to a higher market than it has here, and that's what we're doing.
So are we seeing this universally? You mentioned a few other cosmopolitan areas. Is this something that we are seeing in perhaps the more cultured areas of the country where people are recognizing the health benefits? And as you used the word trend, has it become trendy to go and order a buffalo burger?
Yes, sir. It's kind of, a trend is only how much you push it. I met a guy in Panama City who's been selling buffalo burgers for 10 years. And he's been moving 1,000 pounds a month of it for 10 years. And it hasn't really trended out, but who's out there pushing it, who's out there selling it every day? And I think more towards Las Vegas, South Dakota, Montana, Texas, Dallas, Houston, there's people pushing it. There's ranchers pushing it. And when you push something, it's going to go up in value, and you're going to get it out there,
Yeah. According to what I read, the suggested cooking temperature is about 160, 170 degrees to ensure that you've killed all the pathogens. What other cooking tips would you give somebody for either a steak or buffalo hamburger?
Yes, sir. The best cooking tips for me is I always like to cook any meat, whether it's beef or buffalo. I like to cook it slow. So if I have a really hot grill right here, and the charcoals are all in the middle, I'll put the hamburgers on the outside of the grill and let them kind of slow cook. And whether you're cooking beef or buffalo, that keeps a lot of the flavor, a lot of the fat there, and that makes a real juicy hamburger. So I would recommend slow thawing your buffalo meat, pattying it out, and just doing it right. Not trying to make a quick McDonald's burger out of it, but just slow cooking it.
As I mentioned, we met about a year and a half ago at the Slocum Tomato Festival. Again, as I said, we've been going back and forth trying to schedule an opportunity to sit down and talk. In that interim period, we found out that we have a mutual friend, Paul Davidson, who owns and operates Main Street Market in downtown Chipley, Florida. We've been doing and working with Paul's marketing since he opened up, and I guess that's 5 or 6 years now, whatever it's been. And you are actually working with Paul in the marketing of your buffalo in his location, and then you pointed out that he's also helped you elsewhere. Talk about that relationship with Paul and how that's blossomed.
Chipley, Florida, the people of Chipley, Florida in general have been so good to me. We have a restaurant that sells our burgers called Skins and Bubba's, and then Paul has been one of the, we're just one of the ringleaders of helping me. And everyone has helped me in that sense. But Paul, he brought a freezer into Main Street Market, and he's always pushed my product. I love someone that pushes what I do. And in exchange, I send him as many customers as I can. He's opened a lot of outlets for me, like the Panama City outlet. Paul has a lot of good distribution. He offers a many of great products. I love seeing an honest guy and working with someone in a lot of handshake deals. He's real genuine and someone I'm honored to have represent my product.
Yeah, Paul's situated there, located at arguably the busiest intersection in Washington County, where Highway 77 and Highway 90 cross, Highway 77 being Main Street, and does a tremendous amount of business. When he first started building that, people told him that he would not be able to operate because people would not be able to get in and out comfortably, and at times it is a challenge. Nonetheless, He's grown incrementally every year. As he was quick to point out, he hasn't become rich, but his business is growing and they are doing well, expanding all the time, full line of feeds and seeds, as a matter of fact. Working now with your buffalo, I would imagine that you have and enjoy those kind of relationships in other areas as well.
I do. I love to see a two-way road. I love to see someone pushing my product, and then I love to be able to send them customers. And there's not many good people out there left. We live in a society today, Mr. Paul, where people sometimes are no longer good for their word. And I love being able to work with a guy like Paul. Like I said, I wouldn't trade our friendship for the world. I really think that much of him.
What's the biggest challenge in raising bison from a mechanical point of view? I mean, the physical work and, again, the secure pens and locations you have to have them. Talk a little bit about the challenges.
One of the biggest challenges, the flies in the summer can take a pound a day off of any animal, whether it's a cow, a buffalo, any large animal. And, we talk about livestock.
And why is that? Because they're twitching all the time and they're using the energy, or because they're sucking blood, or what?
They're trying to suck blood is the biggest thing. And they can get through to do that if you don't have proper care management and if you don't use the right material to, prevent these things. So let's just take into instance, we have 150 head of buffalo here on our farm. Say we don't do things right, we don't have proper animal care, and every one of them lose a pound of blood a day. All right, and now say we're wholesaling meat here at $10 a pound, or in the retail market, $17.50 a pound. 150 times that number can be a lot of money you lose.
Yeah.
And you want the animal to be as comfortable as possible.
That could be your profit, or lack of it. So you've got flies. What, if any, what are the natural predators of bison, and do you have any concern about that? Do we have cougars or wildcats or anything that preys on bison here?
The buzzards are such a bad problem for us, and I think every rancher here in Slocum, Malvern, Fayette's dealing with the same problems with cows as I am. Buzzards can be bad. We're not naturally in habitat of buzzards, but in certain times of the year when we have calves born, we don't want buzzards coming in and trying to, kill a calf. So
it's mainly them going after the newborn.
Yes, sir. Thankfully, buffalo are some of the most protective animals there are out there. If you watch a lot of Nat Geo, you see a buffalo will surround the fox, a whole herd will, and they'll charge it all at one time.
So they're very social.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I really don't even have problems with the buzzards, but that's my only threat when I take I take risk management into value in what I do, and that's one of my risk managements.
Have you explored, or has there been any interest shown on the part of the educational system when it comes to serving bison in schools? Or have you gone down that road at all?
No, sir, I haven't. Right now, our biggest markets have just been the restaurant owners, the commercial meat markets. I think as we keep progressing, we've made a lot of progress just the past 6 months. And we're getting ready to move in on more locations every day. I think the educational system is going to have to eventually look at this and say, look, there's value here. We have to make a decision from a health standpoint on looking at bringing this meat in. I just think that takes time. Recognition and building a market is a time-consuming thing. And I don't think our education system's lacking in doing it. I just think we'll get there, but I think it's a long road.
And the reason for my question, Weston, is that more and more we see our federal and state governments getting involved, sometimes in areas that I don't think they should, and one of those is our own nutrition. So to my way of thinking, if they're going to insist on being involved in dictating or at least lending suggestion about what our dietary habits should be from a school age point of view, then why not look at that which is most healthy, which obviously bison seems to fit that role.
It does. It really does. It is, it and elk, if you do the studies, are the healthiest meats on the market. And like I said, we're rural Alabama, rural Florida, whatever, and beef has been dominant for, the past 100 years. And when you talk about a 100-year market, that's a tough thing for someone, they're just so used to it. They're so acclimated to it. I think it's coming. From what I've seen, it's coming. I've been talking with contacts about getting in that route, and it's something as a producer that I'm working on, and I'm excited for it because I know it's coming.
Alabama and Florida both have enjoyed really strong and powerful secretaries of agriculture within their respective states. Are you finding that they're in the case of Florida, because that's where we live, that there is a push from Fresh from Florida, which is the Department of Agriculture in Florida, or from that respective Department of Agriculture in Alabama, to help in some way the production and distribution of bison?
Yes, sir, they are. And the biggest way they're helping, Mr. Paul, is through the Voluntary Inspection Act, which it recognizes exotic meat like alligator, like bison. We have to be processed in a USDA processor. We do not have to be USDA inspected. So therefore, we don't have the USDA hindering on us quite as much. In some states, we have to be, the regulation falls per zip code. But so far, they have been great with helping everyone in the exotic world, from alligator producers, bison producers, elk producers, be able to get their meat on the market without having too many problems.
Our show is distributed throughout Northwest Florida and Southeast Alabama. If somebody is in Panama City Beach or along the Gulf Coast right now and they're interested in trying some of your product, what restaurants or outlets would be now serving your product?
We've just now got ourselves down in Panama City. One of my first locations down there is Wild Gamers. They're a commercial meat market. They do deer processing, animal processing. They do their own sausages. They're in Lynn Haven off of 2321. If I'm not mistaken. I've met, I can be counteractive sometimes in getting the locations wrong as we grow. We have 5 new locations we have just signed deals with. We will be announcing in the following months in Panama City, right on the Strip. I can't say anything about them yet, but they are coming, and you'll see them on our Facebook page. And like I said, it's just a new area for us right now. So Wild Gamers off of 2321 in Lynn Haven, look them up. That'd be your go-to spot right now.
As we also mentioned, in the Chipley area, you've got Skins and Bubba's actually serving your cooked product on their menu, and then Paul Davidson at Main Street Market. You mentioned Orange Beach. Do you also have locations along 30A in South Walton and in that area?
We get into Orange Beach. We have a place called Anchors Bar and Grill. They do so much business with us there. And I've actually partnered up with another company called the George Family Farm. They offer pork. We have come together and we've been able to push pork for them in our area, and they've been able to push our buffalo meat out to Opelika, Auburn, Birmingham. And my location list is on my Facebook page. But it's one of those things, it's bad. I don't know every location we're in, but every day it does change. And I'm blessed for them. I really am. It's a good problem to have.
Well, and as you point out, it's all about that networking. And if you are amenable to talking to people who think they are competitors of yours, sometimes you end up allowing them to realize you're not necessarily competitors. You can work together to both of your benefits. To that end, if somebody wants to find out more, you mentioned your Facebook page. Do you have a website, or is it just the Facebook page?
I really just pushed the Facebook page. Okay. I feel like Facebook's the dominant sector
and
right
what is
now.
that?
It's Green Acres Buffalo Meat, or Green Acres Farms. And you can find any information about our farm, about our ranch, how we raise buffalo, how we feed them out. We offer a grain-finished and a grass-fed meat. So we have both markets there. If you have a restaurant, we'll be more than glad to serve it. And, it's all about putting yourself out there and good networking like me and you are doing today,
You're not far from Dothan, Alabama. You're not far from Tallahassee in the scheme of things, or Pensacola as far as that goes. Right. And you're certainly very, very close to Chipley, Florida, and Marianna, Florida, and obviously just outside of Slocum. You mentioned that, once again, talking about networking, that you this coming year are going to be a part of the Slocum Tomato Festival. Yes, sir. Talk a little bit about that and how that works to your benefit.
It works. I always support local. I feel like you always have to get back on a local level and be involved in your local community. I serve on the volunteer fire department, and I've purchased a sponsorship with the Slocum Tomato Festival. I'll be introducing all the opening acts, and I'll probably be throwing out some Green Acres buffalo meat hats and maybe even giving away some meat. You never know what I'll do. I enjoy what our community has to offer. We are unique. I think Chipley is very unique. Small town, I love the small town life. And the more involved you are in your community, the better results you'll have as a businessman.
Well said. You recently made the decision to run for public office. We're going to talk about that in another segment. I don't want to confuse the two. Right now, we're here to talk about the bison. Is there anything that perhaps I have not asked you, or is there anything that you'd like to contribute?
I think you've covered it well. Like I said, I think farm-to-fork producers are becoming more common now. People are getting so tired of dealing with big distribution companies. More than now than ever, people want to know what they're eating. And when you go to a restaurant and you see the Green Acres Buffalo Burger, cholesterol-free, people love to support local too. And it's a two-way street. We come in, we don't just drop you the food off for you to cook and sell and take your money. We come in and we find out how we can promote you. whether we can put you on the side of our distribution truck, we can plug you on Facebook. We want to help you sell our product and other products you have. We're a small business, and we want to help each other.
Well said, and thank you so much for
Yes,
your
sir.
time today. It was a pleasure. We're looking forward to flying the drone and getting some shots of your bison, maybe being able to even possibly see some of your peacocks. I know that my wife's been running around with a camera. I think she'd probably love to see that. Thank you again for your time. Best of luck going forward. Look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Appreciate all you've done.
We're here at Green Acres Farm in Geneva County, Alabama, just outside of Slocum, Alabama, not far from Chipley, Florida, where we are based, talking to Weston Spivey about his endeavor in the bison market. It's pretty interesting. It's certainly a good story, but more importantly, an opportunity for you to actually improve your health in the process. If you want to find out more, you can go to Facebook to Green Acres Farm. Certainly worth checking into. If you have a restaurant, if you have a retail outlet, certainly something. But if you just want some nutritious, unusual meat, certainly bison fits that bill. And one, I think once you try it the first time, you'll keep coming back. We'll be right back.